G'day gamers, Aussie Wargamer here in my woodshop in Moree, Australia, and welcome to my channel. On this episode, I'll be responding to Vince Venturella's topic of the week about soft scores in tournaments and what an Age of Sigmar tournament should reward. So let's get to it, eh? Firstly, I just want to say that I agree with Vince in that we should see tournaments that focus on the gaming, tournaments that focus on the hobby, tournaments that focus on the narrative, and tournaments that balance all those elements. Tournaments should be diverse because the Age of Sigmar community is diverse. I love that here in Australia at least, more and more Age of Sigmar tournaments are popping up and more tournaments are selling out. I'm going to run my first tournament in March next year, the first ever in my region. So more tournaments equals more variety, and more variety equals more fun. So what place do soft scores, that is paint scores and narrative scores and sports scores, what place do these soft scores have in tournaments then? I think it comes down to what people consider a good game of Age of Sigmar is. I reckon there's three elements. The first is the battle. What I mean by that is how well you and your opponent play one army against the other. We're talking about tactics, army synergies, knowing your rules and your opponents. The most fun games of Age of Sigmar are the closest ones, games where both generals know what they're doing and go toe-to-toe with each other. Tournaments should rightly reward players who have success in playing the game. And that's where your victory points come in. They're really important. The second thing, though, that makes a good game is your opponent, him or herself. Even if you're losing a game, a good, fair opponent will still be fun to play. Someone who's not out there just to smash your face in, but to have fun, to enjoy the game. A good opponent rolls with the punches and does what they can to ensure a fun but fair game. Tournaments should rightly reward these players, so sports scores are, I think, really important. And I think the third thing that makes a great game of Age of Sigmar is immersion. Being able to put yourself into the world of the game, to really be involved in the story that's playing out on the tabletop. I'm sure it's a topic for another time, but I really like all the realm rules for this. Some of them are a little bit off in terms of game balance, but they really add more flavour to the game and can help the player immerse into the world. Another way of promoting an immersive game, of course, is having great terrain and fully painted armies. Nothing takes you out of the game quicker than when your nicely painted army looks across the battlefield and sees a horde of grey plastic. I think the level of hobby in Age of Sigmar is one of the best, if not the best, in all of tabletop wargaming. And I think tournaments should continue to promote that level of hobby and reward players for taking the time to ensure their army is painted. Painting scores are an easy way to achieve that, and a great way to reward players that don't have the most competitive lists or best tactics, but have great looking narrative driven armies. I think a painting minimum standard should always be enforced, even at super competitive tournaments, but quality painting and modelling should also be rewarded. I'll definitely be using sports and painting scores for my event next year because I think rewarding players for good games goes beyond just whether you win or not. Well, that's all from me. Thanks for watching, and as always, subscribe if you want to hear more of my voice. Catch us later.